Okay, live. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to our weekly Tanya class. Today is a special day in the Chabad calendar, I would say in the Jewish calendar. It marks the 120th birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, whose light began to shine 120 years ago today. And to the people sitting around this table, I don't have to tell about the Rebbe that much. You all know, heard, studied, and have yourself been impacted personally by the Rebbe and his work and his teachings and his shluchim around the world. And it says that on a birthday is a time that a person's mazel, his spiritual strength or his spiritual flow is strong. That means that today the Rebbe has special, every day he has special, but today it's even more strong than regular. And as such, I spent the day last night and this morning by the Oihel, and I prayed and I asked for brachas for myself, for my family, for the community, and it's a very, very special day. And it's probably a good time for all of you to make a connection through writing a letter to the Rebbe. If you need a bracha for anything, spiritually or physically, or in any other, in anything in your life, today is a very auspicious day to request that bracha from the Rebbe, because, as I mentioned, his light is strong today, his energy is strong today, his spiritual power of blessing is strong today, and it's definitely a day to tap in. So don't waste it, and take advantage, and allow yourself to be connected to this great tzaddik, this incredible Moses of our time. And we should always continue to be inspired by the Rebbe, learn his teachings, and maybe we should, right after Pesach, take today a resolution that we're going to start a class in the Rebbe's teachings. I'm taking that right now as I'm speaking. It just dawned on me to make a resolution on behalf of this shul that we're going to start a new class. I have to figure out when, but it's a commitment I'm making tonight online. Everyone's hearing it. It's a commitment that I'm making to do a new class in the Rebbe's sichas, in the Rebbe's talks, in the Rebbe's teachings, which are incredible. So you're all invited to. I'll make further announcements about it, and I want to say l'chaim for that. L'chaim. Okay, so tonight's class is on Tanya. So we're actually holding by chapter 10. Right? We learned last week chapter 9. No, I stopped sending out the texts. That is it's on page 39, correct. So until now, in the last 9 chapters, the Alter Rebbe discussed the first chapter. The Alter Rebbe said, introduced us really, and right in the beginning of the chapter 1, introduced us to 5 different types of Jews: the tzaddik, the rasha, and the beinoni, the righteous, the sinful, and the intermediary person. The beinoni, which is really the discussion of what this whole book is called, the book of the beinoni. Within the righteous, he discussed there are 2 levels: the completely righteous and the non-completely righteous. Among the wicked or the sinful, there's also the completely sinful and the not completely sinful. And then in the middle is the beinoni. So these are 5 different types of Jews. And the Alter Rebbe went on to explain that really the beinoni is a person that never sins, really. He doesn't have any sins. He brought a proof. It says, he quoted the Talmud, which Rabbi, the great sage Rabbi, said about himself, that he's a beinoni. Now, Rabbi, if a Beinoni was a person that had half sins and half virtues, which people think, tzaddik is someone that has more sins than and more virtues than sins. A Rasha has more sins than virtues. And the Beinoni has half and half. If that was the case, Rabbi could never say about himself that he was a Beinoni. Rabbi was always learning Torah. He never stopped learning. And he said to the point where the angel of death couldn't get a hold of him. He couldn't take him away from this world because he was always learning, and you can't take someone that's learning. So obviously a Beinoni is not someone that sins half of his life and half of his mitzvahs. So he explained obviously that a Beinoni is someone that has no sins at all. And in that sense he's like the tzaddik. So what then is the difference between the Rosh is someone that does sin? The sinful person is someone that does sin. So what then is the difference between the Beinoni and the tzaddik, the intermediary and the righteous? So for this, the Alter Rebbe introduced us to the idea of the two souls, to properly understand this. And he went away for 7-8 chapters on talking about the two souls, the human soul, the godly soul, their makeup, their garments, their functions, their battles, and so on. And that brought us to the end of chapter 9. In chapter 10, 11, and 12, he's going to now come back to those 5 categories of people. What is the tzaddik, what is the Rosh, and what is the Beinoni? That's going to be chapter 10, 11, and 12.
Robert, quick question.
Yeah.
Was the Alter Rebbe the first one that talked about the two souls?
No, it's brought up before. He elaborated on it very much.
Where is that?
Zohar, Kabbalah, and the Arizal's works. But the Alter Rebbe is the first one to really articulate it in a way that is detailed, in a very systematic format, where he lays out exactly what the two souls are, their nature, and so on. You could say that he did that, yes.
And the Rebbe didn't write any particular book?
The Rebbe himself?
I mean, like the Tanya.
The Rebbe wrote hundreds of books. The Rebbe has published books, probably 250 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, of his talks, his teachings, his letters, everything. Sure.
No, I know about his teachings, but not a book like this.
That he actually penned. He did a couple, yeah, a few books. But we have today of his recorded talks and letters, hundreds of books. And then there you have he edited 39 books. Of those, he edited 39 of them. 39 volumes.
But there's only one time.
Tanya is not from the Rebbe. Tanya is from the Alter Rebbe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, chapter 10. Behold, when a person fortifies his divine soul and wages war against his animal soul, to such an extent that he expels and eradicates its evil from the left part. We said last week that the evil is in the left part of the heart, right? So when a person fortifies his divine soul becomes strong to the point he wages war against his animal soul to such an extent that he expels and eradicates his evil from the left part. He gets rid of his Yetzer Hara. He gets rid of all bad within him. As is written, and thou shalt root out the evil from within you. Yet, the evil is not actually converted to goodness. He is called incompletely righteous. He's not completely righteous. That's the Rasha, it's a tzaddik she'eini gomer, the tzaddik that's not completely righteous. Or a righteous man who suffers. There are two terms that the Alter Rebbe interchangeably refers to this individual tzaddik. Tzaddik she'eini gomer is not complete, or tzaddik virali, a tzaddik who suffers. This is from the Gemara, this is from the Talmud, where usually people understand tzaddik virali is a tzaddik who suffers in this world. He has pain, he has afflictions, and so on. But the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that tzaddik virali doesn't only mean, it's not here, that term is not just describing his life story. that he's suffering in his life. Rather, he's going to say that tzaddik veraloi, the tzaddik who veraloi means is bad to him, is describing the identity of this person, of this tzaddik. It's part of the identity of the tzaddik. What does veraloi mean? He has some vestige of evil. He didn't chase it out completely or transform it, but it's loy. His evil that is within him is completely subjugated to him, meaning to his godly soul. It's there, but it's dormant. It never really takes control of the person. So there might be a little bit of evil left in him. It's not totally transformed into good, but it's asleep. It's loy, vera loy. His evil, his bad, his negative character, his negative part within him is loy, is completely subservient to him. It doesn't bother him. It doesn't ever not only not cause him to sin, he doesn't even have a temptation to sin. In other words, the evil that's in him is never strong enough to get him to want to sin, let alone sin, but even to want to sin. He never feels that urge, that temptation. That means it's there, but it's not totally there, not totally transformed. Let's see a little further. That is to say, there still lingers in him a fragment of wickedness in the left part, except that it is subjugated and nullified by the good because of the former's minuteness. There's so little of it left. Oh, good evening. Hence, he imagines that he has driven it out and it has quite disappeared. He thinks he got rid of it because it never bothers him anymore. But in reality, he didn't. Hence, he imagined, In truth, however, had all the evil in him entirely departed and disappeared, it would have been converted into actual goodness. So this is the tzaddik that's not complete, because there's still some vestige, remnant of the negative within him. The explanation of the matter is that a completely righteous man, the tzaddik v'toivloi, the complete tzaddik, in whom the evil has been converted to goodness, and who is consequently called a righteous man who prospers, tzaddik v'toivloi, he only has good. He prospers also means, is a translation of the words tzaddik v'toivloi, a tzaddik whose good is to him, meaning he only has good. Before we learned about the tzaddik v'raloi, who has a little bad, but it's subservient to his good. Over here, v'toivloi means he only has good. Let's read again. The explanation of the matter is that a completely righteous man, in whom the evil has been converted to goodness, and who is consequently called a righteous man who prospers, he only has good, has completely divested himself of the filthy garments of evil. He has no temptation for anything that's ungodly. That is to say, he utterly despises the pleasures of this world. He despises it. Why does he despise the pleasures of this world? Because he feels that it's ungodly. It doesn't connect him to God. It's not about God. So what he despises, anything that is not godliness, he despises. That's why. How does he get to that level? How do you get to such a point where you literally hate or despise anything that is not godly? How does a person reach such a level? It's lofty. He said, that is to say, he utterly despises the pleasures of this world, finding no enjoyment in human pleasure of merely gratifying the physical appetites. He sees absolutely no interest in that. On the contrary, he despises it. Instead of seeking the service of God, inasmuch as they are derived from and originate in the klipa and sitra achra, because those pleasures, if it's there for the person himself, it comes from the sitra achra, from the other side, the unholy side. For whatever is of the sitra achra is hated by the perfectly righteous man with an absolute hatred, by reason of his great love of God and of his holiness, with profuse affection and delight and superlative devotion. How does he reach such a level where he despises anything that's not good, that's not godly? That comes because he has an unbelievable love for Hashem. When you love your children, and we do, dearly, we're going to despise anything that is a danger to our children. We're going to despise anything that is harmful to our children. The more you love someone, the more you're going to hate anything that is in the way of that person, of your affection for that person. So the more you love Hashem, the more you're going to despise anything that is hated by Hashem, which is the klipa, which is anything that's ungodly. So the tzaddik literally despises it. Not just he won't do it, he despises it. Let's read that again. That at the bottom of the previous page, 39. That is to say, he utterly despises the pleasures of this world, finding no enjoyment in human pleasures of merely gratifying the physical appetites instead of seeking the service of God, inasmuch as they are derived from this and originate in the klipa and sitra achra, the other side, not the unholy side. For whatever is of the sitra achra is hated by the perfectly righteous man with an absolute hatred. By reason, why does he hate it? Because by reason of his great love of God and of his holiness with profuse affection and delight and superlative devotion, as is stated above. For they are antithetical one to the other. Thus it is written, I hate them with an absolute hatred. King David said that. I count them mine enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Hence, according to the abundance of the love toward God, so is the extent of the hatred toward the sitra achra, and utter contempt of evil. For contempt is as much the opposite of real love as is hatred. What are the two? Love is the opposite of hatred, right? Love and hate are two opposites. Correct? So that when you love something or someone, you're going to hate anything that person despises. And the more you love, the more you'll hate. The more you love that person, the more you're going to hate anything that is against that person, that threatens that person, that gets in the way of that person, that's displeasing to that person. That's the way it works. The more you love, the more you despise that which is against that person you love. So in the case of the tzaddik, the more he loves Hashem, the more he's going to despise that which is antithetical to Hashem. And what's antithetical to Hashem? Anything that's not godly. Anything from the klipa and sitra achra, from the other side, that's not holy. So, how much of the... So here's the thing. So you ask about the tzaddik, the two levels of tzaddik we said, right? The perfect tzaddik and the non-perfect tzaddik. The perfect tzaddik is someone that has gotten rid of all the evil within him to the point where he transformed it into good, and he has absolutely no connection to that at all. He despises it. The tzaddik veraloi, the not perfect tzaddik, is someone who loves Hashem very great, but not to the degree where he got rid of every vestige of evil, but it is enough where the little evil that he may have is not a force in his consciousness. It's asleep, so to say. It's asleep. And therefore he'll never have a temptation to anything bad.
Maybe it's a fine...
He may not despise it as much.
Which was the Rebbe?
Tzaddik Gomer. The Rebbe was a different level, b'chlal altogether. Over here he's talking about within the realm of Tzaddik Gomer. The Rebbe is the Nasi. The Rebbe is a leader, like a Moses. It's a different level altogether. It's a different concept. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
So for the tzaddik that lives, he loves God, but he's living in that state where he's close to God and his oneness. And so he's living in a wonderful place. So that place, so in as much as he loves God, but he's also living in this wonderful place. I don't want to make it for the tzaddik and not for God, but the tzaddik could have every reason in the world not to want to be separated from God.
Right.
So that, because he's living in that wonderful place. And so therefore he would hate all that which is ungodly, because if he's in contact with it or has to interact with it, he would take him away from God.
Even if it doesn't take him away, if you see someone else doing a sin, he despises the act of sin. He despises that which is antithetical to God. That's how it is. The more you love someone, the more you despise that which is in opposition to that, the subject of your love. And the tzaddik has reached perfection in that level. His love of Hashem is so powerful that he just simply he can't tolerate evil. Makes him sick. There's a negative reaction to bad.
I think we all have some of that in us.
Well, depends on as far as godliness.
Some of those characteristics where...
Well, if you love your spouse, you're going to hate.
No, I mean, as far as God, I can't say it's all day, every day. You know, like it's
So you're right. You have a point. I'm going to get to that. You're bringing up a very good point. We are tzaddikim with regard to maybe certain things. What's the definition of a tzaddik, as the Alter Rebbe laid it out over here? Someone that despises evil. Do you despise evil? And why do you despise evil? Tell me an evil that you despise. For real, really that you despise.
And evil, by definition, is something that's unholy.
Tell me an evil that you despise. Just take an example or two. Yeah.
Why not? No.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. You could say that it's evil, sure. Yeah, okay. Question is, why do you despise him? And therefore, why do you love innocent people? Why do you love people? So then you're not really hating that which is antithetical to God. You're hating that which is antithetical to other humans. Is that why you hate it? Is that why you love humans? Because they're creations of God? No, it's an honest question. It's not a... Oh, so maybe that's a love and a hate that has nothing really to do so much with God. Let's try to find something that is... You love something... Well, let's say...
I love human beings.
Why do you love human beings? Because why wouldn't you love human beings?
Who else say that is faithful to me?
Yeah, most people would probably identify with what you're saying. That other human beings deserve to live, and who gives them the right? You can't stand seeing humans suffering. Why can't you stand seeing humans suffering?
I think it's unfair. We have the right to be. It's a beautiful thing to love, right? And somebody decided it's going to take away the life of all the people. And that is against the will of God.
I think
Right away.
So are you against anything? So do you despise anything that's not Hashem's will? Like when you see someone eating treif, do you get so reactionary to that? You don't despise the act of eating treif.
No, I just don't need it.
You know, I despise
I understand.
myself. More than anything, I'm thinking about things that use context as far as like evil, non-godly things. And I start thinking, I look around at what other people are doing, and it's like, do I really despise when somebody else does? I can't use that word despise. That's a strong word.
Why now? Why is it a strong word? It's a strong word.
Very powerful word.
And what's wrong with it?
Nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
But you know what? That goes against.
I don't like. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. When I see somebody and they do this one straight, and it's like so quick, I'm like, I say, you could never have done it. So you didn't do it.
That doesn't despise you.
It doesn't despise me, but it's not one of my.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I get despised. Like, I know I should be doing something and I don't. Like, I have more passion in discussing that than like outwardly what other people do.
But getting back to the question, if you despise somebody, you do something.
Not somebody, it's the act, the action.
Yeah, yes, but on the other hand, you have to be respectful to people. That's his will. So, honestly, I don't care that much if somebody does something for themselves. I care if it's affecting others.
Someone bullies your son.
That's different.
Why is it different to say you despise that person? You would despise him. Yeah. Why would you despise that?
But if somebody didn't force,
Yeah.
I don't respect.
I get it. No, I understand that. But I'm saying, but let's try to analyze this. Yeah.
Because it's affecting somebody that I love.
So that's the question. So the tzaddik loves Hashem to the degree that anything that is in opposition to Hashem, he despises. He can't stand it. That's how much he loves Hashem. He loves Hashem more
Despise somebody didn't force.
because you don't love Hashem that much. And I'm not judging you. We're all in the same boat. But the tzaddik really, really loves Hashem so much that anything in this world that is against Hashem, or he really has a negative reaction to it. Not to the person. He's not going to hate anyone. He'll hate the act. He'll be disgusted by the act.
So Moses kills an Egyptian.
He's not going to say anything because
I'm not going to say anything because
nah, that's not the way you deal with things, you know.
So Moses sees a taskmaster beating on a Jew. He clubs him over the head and he kills him.
He doesn't club him over the head.
What does he do?
He kills him by using God's ineffable name.
Oh, is that what he does?
He didn't hurt him. He didn't hit him.
how did he kill him?
Actually, it says that he hit him. Yeah, it says Vayachas HaMitzri. He struck down the Egyptian. Either way, whatever. He struck down the Egyptian. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm assuming that he witnessed an act of cruelty,
Yeah.
and it so offended him. And from this point, since we're talking about Moses here, offended God,
Who offended God? The Egyptian.
the Egyptian,
Yeah.
and the Egyptian died as a result.
Right.
Pretty serious.
But it's an act of, let's say, a non-Jew eating trade, for example. That's not offending God.
If what?
But a non-Jew.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I'm not talking about a non-Jew. I'm talking about a Jew.
Because God didn't tell that non-Jew.
No. But I understand where you're going, that Sadi goes to that extreme, that
It-
it doesn't affect him.
It does, that's what it affects him, because to him God is just like to you, your son.
It doesn't affect him, regular guys, like us. I don't care that. I
Right.
respect some of these
Right.
people, but a Sadi would be offended.
Because the tzaddik, to him, God is a personal thing. He loves him so much on a personal level that anything that is against Hashem, he just.
Not justified to act like.
No, he's not going to act against that person. No.
I dislike the person who despises.
Moses
Why?
justified by doing what
I
he did.
dislike if I see a Jew eating trade. I dislike it. I despise it. Such like it doesn't bother me.
Because you don't despise it, but I'm sure there are certain things that you do despise. You despise certain things, I'm sure.
I think our cultural norms, non-Jewish cultural norms, but secular cultural norms, leads us to believe that there's a point at which you say, I don't like the fact that the Jew is eating bacon, but there's a sense that human beings have a kind of personal autonomy. to which they
The tzaddik is also not going to club the guy over the head for eating treif. He's not going to go over to him and slap him across the face. No, he'll calculate. If it will help, he'll say something. If it won't, he won't. The tzaddik is not stupid.
No, I
He's
wasn't
smarter.
talking about
My point is, he's not going to take action against the person. that very thing will make him sick.
Okay.
It'll make him sickening. He'll be sickened by this act. He can't. It bothers him so much that it really makes him very upset. He despises it. Why? Because he loves Hashem that much. It's no joke. This is a profound level of attachment to God.
But you know what?
But I think we're all tzaddikim in certain respects. I'll give you an example, but yeah, go ahead. You're first. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I respect about Chabad is that we, in general, and even among the world, is very slow.
Yeah.
They don't despise somebody who's not.
They don't despise. The tzaddik doesn't either. He doesn't despise the person. He despises the action.
Right, but how even, yeah, I don't see.
He loves the person.
He might despise
You know why the tzaddik loves that Jew? Because Hashem loves that Jew. And whatever Hashem loves, the tzaddik loves. And whatever Hashem despises, the tzaddik despises. And that Hashem despises a Jew eating treif. He doesn't despise the Jew. He despises the act.
Right, but one thing that impressed on Chabad is you respect other people.
It's not a question of, yeah, we're not going to judge anyone. We're just going to try to elevate people. That's it. Teach them Torah. Make them, inspire them to be better. Don't focus on the bad things they're doing.
I don't feel any despise.
Correct. Because there is none of that. There is none of that. Of course not.
I get the sense that the victory for Chabad, to the extent that there is a victory.
Eh?
The victory for
Victory,
Chabad,
yeah.
to the extent there is a victory, is defined as every Jew that is exposed, that does one more mitzvah, one more than they did last week, is a victory.
Right?
So they're tolerant, it's tolerant, very tolerant. Otherwise, I couldn't sit here. But it is, the victory is every week that by experiencing this, you get pulled in and you do one more mitzvah, then
But I really do think that we are, some of us, we all have something which we could say, in that one thing we're a tzaddik.
For example,
I'll give you an example. When you see, there's a sin in the Torah, it's a funny example, but I'll just use it for now. There's a sin in the Torah against drinking blood. You're not allowed to drink blood. When you see someone, imagine you walked out of your house, you see guys just gulping down blood. What's your reaction to that? Despise it. It's disgusting. You despise it. So you see over here,
rare unkosher steaks all the time.
I'm not talking about steak, I'm talking about blood.
But if you eat a very rare steak, it's going to be blood dripping.
No, I'm talking about just blood. Yeah. It's not so simple. You have to salt the meat before you eat it.
And normally so.
You have to salt the meat before. And if they don't, you're not allowed to eat it. Why do you? I think it is.
You have a steak that's ultra rare, and then the juice comes out, and the pinkness, it's not blood, it's an expression, it's blood.
How do you know it's not blood?
Because I know it's not blood, I forget how, it's not
I don't think you're right. I think it actually is blood, unless it's kosher.
It's not blood.
I don't see how. If you have meat and you don't salt it, there's going to be full of blood in that meat. No, by definition, naturally, that's how they salt the meat. There's no blood. If they don't salt the meat, there's going to be blood. But that's not for now.
I
Yeah,
was shocked when I heard it.
yeah, we don't have to talk about that. But anyway, yeah. Now,
Tell us how we're all savage.
I just gave you an example. You see someone doing something that you're despised by it. It's an act that's anti-God and you hate it. Or, for example, you're in the middle of Ne'ilah. Let me give you an example. You're standing in the middle of Ne'ilah.
And somebody picks up their phone.
No, not someone picks up the phone. And you're in the ecstasy of the moment. You're at the end of Ne'ilah. Everyone is davening. We're saying Shema Yisrael. You have this incredible experience, right? And then someone shows up right in front of you with a fried piece of bacon right in front of you, in the middle of that ecstasy. What's your reaction? You're disgusted by it. Maybe in a regular day you wouldn't be disgusted. You wouldn't eat it, but you wouldn't be disgusted by it. In the middle of this moment of Yom Kippur, where you're in touch with Hashem in a real way, and someone shoves that in front of your nose, you're not smelling, oh, that smells good. You're really, really rejected. You really, really, you have it's a negative you have a negative reaction to that. Okay, so that could be also a little bit. Now, let's go to the incomplete tzaddik. At the triangle on page 41. The incomplete righteous is he who does not hate the sitra achra with an absolute hatred. Therefore, he does not also absolutely abhor evil. And as long as the hatred and scorn of evil are not absolute, there must remain some vestige of love and pleasure in it. If you don't hate it that much, that means there's there's something left in you about. There's some of it left in you that you're still connected to it, and the fouled garments have not entirely and absolutely been shed. Therefore, the evil has not actually been converted to goodness because it's not yet totally destroyed. There's still some of it there, and it's not transformed to goodness, since it still has some hold in the filthy garments. What's filthy garments, by the way? The desire for evil. Except that it is nullified because of its minute quantity and is accounted as nothing. Because it's so tiny and so minute, it's not going to, you're almost not going to feel it. The tzaddik, this tzaddik will not feel this evil within him. And he may even think that he doesn't have it, but he does. Therefore, such a person is called a righteous man, in whom the evil is subjugated and surrendered to him. Vera loy. The evil is to him subjugated to him. Accordingly, his love of God is not perfect, with the result that he is called incompletely righteous. So the two terms, incomplete righteous and the righteous to who is as bad as to him, vera loy, are two names for the same idea. Because his love of Hashem is not 100% complete, that is why he still has a little bit of evil. But it's a dormant because it's so minute. Now, this grade is subdivided into myriads of degrees in respect of the quality of the minute evil remaining in him from any of the four evil elements. How many tzaddikim were there in the history of the world? Many. So within this grade of tzaddikim that have a minute evil, how much minute? There are many different levels. Each one has a little more. So that's what he's saying over there. That level of the incomplete tzaddik, there are many different grades, many different gradations.
How many people have there?
How many what? Complete tzaddikim? Not very many. In every generation. Moshe, of course. Moshe was beyond that.
So how many?
Few, thousands.
Thousands?
Over the history, yeah.
Like leaders?
Leaders only one per generation.
Which is
No, every generation has one. From the time of the Torah, at least 100. 25 years is a generation, so do the math. Noach was before the Torah. From Moshe Rabbeinu and now. From Avram, let's say. Let's say Avram. Yeah. But Moshe was really the first leader of the Jewish people. After him came Yehoshua, and after him others. Yeah. Joseph was before.
So King David is interesting, isn't it? Because this is a guy who sinned a lot. In a really bad way.
Really? Who told you that? Let's not talk about David HaMelech now. I gave a whole class about that in the past. That King David didn't sin at all. King David is completely beyond the realm of sin. He was a tzaddik v'tovlei. He said that he got rid of his evil inclination.
You mean after this?
I don't know. You say sin. The Talmud says that anyone that says that King David sinned is making a mistake. He didn't sin. When did he sin? What sin are you aware of? What are you referring to?
Lusting after the wife of a married man who he then sends to the front lines to be killed?
Who said she was married?
Oh, there are technicalities. Okay.
What?
All right, so there are technicalities. But he did purposely send him to the front lines.
Because he violated the king's orders. Let's not get into that now. It's for a different time.
Yes, I saw the movie.
That's the problem. The movie is not.
The movie wasn't good.
Never watch a movie about a biblical character. It always always messes it up.
Stand correct.
Let's go further. Okay, by the triangle again. The incomplete righteous is he who does not hate the sitra achra with an absolute hatred. Therefore, he does not also absolutely abhor evil. And as long as the hatred and scorn of evil are not absolute, there must remain some vestige of love and pleasure in it. And the foul garments have not entirely and absolutely been shed. Foul garments are the desire for evil. He does not completely shed. He still has a little bit of it. Therefore, the evil has not actually been converted to goodness, since it still has some hold in the filthy garments, except that it is nullified because of its minute quantity and is accounted as nothing. Therefore, such a person is called righteous man, in whom the evil is subjugated and surrendered to him. But there is evil. Accordingly, his love of God is not perfect, and that's why he still has evil. If he would be perfect, he would have gotten rid of the evil and transformed it. So he's not as complete. The love of Hashem is not complete, and therefore he still has a little evil. The only difference is, but by him, the evil is subjugated to his good, and therefore he doesn't feel it. Accordingly, his love of God is also not perfect, with the result that he is called incompletely righteous. Now, this grade is subdivided into myriads of degrees in respect of the quality of the minute evil remaining in him, from any of the four evil elements, which we learned about before, as well as in relation to its proportionate abnegation by reason of its minuteness. In other words, how much evil you have and how much it is nullified in the minuteness in comparison to in other words, in relation to the good that he has. So read it again. Now this grade is subdivided into myriads of degrees in respect of the quality of the minute evil remaining. What kind of minute evil remains in him, the quality of it, from any of the four elements, as well as in relation to its proportionate abnegation by reason of its minuteness. How little is it? What quality it is and what quantity it is. Such that as, by way of example, 1 in 60, or 1 in 1,000, or in 10,000, and the like. Such are the gradations of the numerous righteous men who are to be found in every generation, as mentioned in the Gemara, that 18,000 righteous men stand before the Holy One, blessed be He. So you have thousands, tens of thousands, but most of them are in the category of a tzaddik she'eina gomer, who is not complete. And within that, there's different degrees. The quality of the evil that's left in him, the minuteness of the evil that's left in him, in comparison, in proportion to the good. Is it 1 to 60, 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000, 1 to 10,000? They already have many different gradations.
So theoretically, if we were all righteous, imperfectly righteous,
right,
completely righteous people sitting on the table,
yeah,
that's all we have in common, because some of us are going to be more righteous than others, but
right,
the creations are so minute, we could divide them into 60,000.
Whatever, yeah, but all the common denominator is that they're all the incompletely righteous. Because if they were complete, they would have no evil at all.
Question. The only one who knows is Hashem.
The only one that knows what?
Who's the completely righteous and who's not? Because if you're saying that the non-completely righteous might even think that they are.
Yeah, sometimes they're not even.
The
Sometimes.
person himself doesn't know that they're not actually at the higher tzaddik level.
Right.
There's no chance anybody else could know.
Right.
It's very unlikely anyway. So the only one who actually knows what level those are at, we know that.
Could be.
But the rabbi,
How could you, if the person himself, who would be the judge of that other than Hashem?
I'm not sure anyone's looking for a judge, but you may be right. You may be right.
you said
That sometimes the tzaddik himself is unaware because he thinks he got rid of it, because he doesn't feel it.
What the rabbi you were talking about before, he said he's imperfect, he's an incomplete son.
Rabbi, no, he said he's a Beinoni. He's not even in the realm of a tzaddik. Of course, he was wrong. He was a tzaddik.
We're not talking about the rabbi.
He's talking about Rabbi
All right.
and the Talmud. You know.
Got it.
However, it is with regard to the superior quality of the completely righteous that Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai said, I have seen superior men, b'nei aliyah, and their numbers are few. Regarding the perfect tzaddik, there's very few. He saw them, but they're very few. The reason for their title, superior men, why are they called superior men, or in Hebrew, b'nei aliyah, is that they convert evil and make it ascend to holiness. That's why they're called b'nei aliyah. They cause an aliyah to their evil that they had at birth, and they make it ascend to holiness, as is written in the Zohar in the introduction, that when Rab Chia wished to ascend to the Heichel, the heavenly shrine of Rab Shimon ben Yochai, he heard a voice come out and say, which of you before coming here has converted darkness into light, and bitter taste into sweetness, otherwise do not approach here, as and so forth. So Rab Chia tried to go into the chamber in heaven of Rab Shimon ben Yochai, and he heard a voice saying, who over here, did you convert your darkness into light, meaning your evil into good, or your bitterness into sweet, which is the same idea, basically your evil into good? If not, don't come here. You don't belong here. This is the chamber of such people, not anyone else. So there are very few such tzaddik in the history of the people. But the tzaddik that's not complete, there were many, there were some, there were more.
How do you know yourself if you, what would be an example of the way turning evil into good? What would be an example?
It means that you completely, you no longer have a desire for anything evil.
It's not there.
It's not there. You don't have it.
But that doesn't necessarily make it transfer.
That means that the evil makes you very, very upset. You have a negative reaction to evil.
The only other example you've given us of something like this is the person who is pleading to God with tshuva that is so profound and so intense.
No, that's
that
a
it
person.
transforms bad.
Yeah, but but we're talking about a total transformation of every vestige of evil in him to good. That's not just so simple,
One thing that happens.
right?
But I mean, the point is, how do you know? How do you know if you've done that?
You know that. You know. If you're there, you know. So the thing is like this.
I shouldn't wonder if I.
The problem is we are not even a Beinoni because we sin. We're sinful. We're in the realm of sinners. So we're going to be talking about our level in chapter 11. That's where we fit in.
So stop relating to this.
The question is, the question is another one. Could you even become a tzaddik if you wanted to? Do you have the power to become a tzaddik?
I don't think so.
You don't. Most people, you can aspire to be a Beinoni. That's where,
It has to do with the kind of salt you give.
correct. But you have to aspire to be a Beinoni. That everyone can be. You can control your thoughts, actions, and your thoughts, words, and action. I don't know if you can control what you like. If you have a desire for evil, not everyone has the ability, that soul power, to be able to reach a level of a tzaddik, even a non-complete tzaddik.
But you said if you live in your godly soul, you're trying to relate to that all the time. Everything that you do is for God. as in the natural course of things, you're drawn more and more. It has its own gravity. The more you do it,
True.
the more you're drawn.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the only path there is.
There is, but again, that's the path of the Beinoni. The more you're going to do mitzvahs, the more you're going to want it. The more you're going to want it. But that doesn't mean you're not going to want physical, self-centered, selfish wants and desires. You won't. The Beinoni wants those things, but he never actually acts on that want. He doesn't act out the temptation, but the temptation is there. See, because we have the human soul, and that's how we're conditioned. It's not a negative, it's just a fact of life. What all Hashem really expects of us is to say no to the temptation. That you have full control. Am I going to act out on my desire right now? You can decide yes, or you can decide no. That you do have the power. You have control over your thoughts, your words, and your actions. But what temptations you have, that you don't have control over. And we'll speak about all this when we get to the Beinoni. What's the real rank of the Beinoni? The tzaddik not only doesn't sin, he's sickened by sin. Sin makes him sick. The Rasha not only does sin not make him sick, he actually sins. The Beinoni sin doesn't make him sick, but he won't sin. He'll never sin. He doesn't have a rejection to it. He has an attraction to it, in fact, but he won't actually do it. He'll never actually do a sin. But he does have an attraction to sin.
Can you be a Beinoni and then, not be one?
Sure.
What about activities which are not sins, but he's not doing them for God? What is it, a sin?
Well, it's a little different than an outright sin, but
Evil. It's not for holiness, then it's against it.
you'll see when we get there. We'll address that when we talk about the Beinoni.
I wanted to discuss in the context of Ben's rock concert.
I'd rather.
I'm just kidding, Ben.
What?
It was a
We're
joke.
not going back to the
It was a joke.
Either what?
Ben's rock concert.
Nothing wrong with it.
Anyway.
Howard.
So this is why the tzaddikim are called the Bnei Aliyah, they're men of ascent, because they elevate the evil within them and convert it to good. The next part of the chapter, which is the conclusion of the chapter, is going to give another reason why tzaddikim are called Bnei Aliyah. But because it's 9:05, and I had a very tough night last night, I was up late, I'm going to ask if we can cut this one short, and we'll take over next week with some more. Next week is Pesach already. Should we do it on Pesach? Yeah? Okay. Next Tuesday night. It's Chol HaMoed. So we could do it. Okay. We'll do it next Tuesday night. Any questions? I want to give you something. Do you have matzah shmura for your seder? I'm asking. You have? Okay. They're round. Right. Okay. Good night, everyone. Those of you watching, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week again.